南非对我们是电子签 e-visa， 上面显示还是在等待中。这个是当前的一个申请界面，填了非常复杂的资料，填完之后付完款，按现在的状态还是等着出签。看我这个申请日期是从5月23号到6月8号了，还是这样的等待状态。
So, I came here to visit my friend in Serbia, Moran, and then we decided we were going to try to go to South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, to Malawi, Kenya, the Serengeti, see all the big 5 animals, and start to see the country. Well, for me as an American, visa is real simple, straightforward. I just buy a ticket, fly to the country, and everything is good to go. I just arrange my transportation and go. Moran, how was it for you?
So difficult.
So for Moran, we started to look into the problem. So we found out it was more complicated than we thought for Chinese to get visa. Some of the countries we found out were relatively easy, but South Africa, Eswatini, Lesotho, Botswana were 3 countries that were extremely difficult. You have to apply ahead of time for the visas with a lot of documentation. So we found out about the documentation, which meant we had to make a route itinerary, which basically is pick all the places we go, find the route, tell them which hotels and cities we're going to stay at, where we're going to go, what game parks we're going to see, what we're going to do. This was just for South Africa alone. Then the same would be for Botswana. We would have to pick up all the cities and game parks and make reservations and have this all on a sheet of paper. It's the itinerary and list and route of the entire trip. So for Moran, I went in ahead and started doing this. So I had to use a few different programs on my phone to be able to do this. First, the map program. And in the map program, basically shows the entire country. There I had to make a map. So to do that, I had to make pin drops and all sorts of other stuff. So I need to put my glasses on to see what I'm doing, getting old, you know how that goes. So we made a route, a South African route. This would be a general route that we would go starting in Cape Town. The reason we chose Cape Town is in order to get some scooters. We found out because we wanted to take scooters. I normally travel by bicycle, but Moran, due to the short limited time that Chinese have in some countries with their visas, we decided to take a scooter instead. So to take scooters, we looked into renting scooters. This again became a very bad problem because scooter you can only rent a lot of times within one country and you can't cross a border to another country. So we looked into taking a scooter from South Africa to Botswana, then up to Malawi, to Zambia and all that. No country we found would rent us a scooter for that. Then the next one was to look into a tour that would do the same thing. We would go with a tour group that would do all this. Well, the tour groups are extremely expensive. $1,000 or $15,000. $1,500. Extremely expensive for only 30 days. So we thought that's not reasonable. So we went for the next option, which is to buy scooters. Well, to buy scooters again is the same. Again, you have some issues. Most of the countries you buy a scooter in, you have to register the scooter. No, okay, registration means you have to be a resident of the country. That is difficult if you're not living there and staying there. There are a few ways around that. Sometimes you can buy a scooter and buy it for export use. That means you can take the scooter, you buy it, you get some special paperwork that says you're taking the scooter back to your home country. Now for China, that's a long drive home. That's across all of Africa, up all over all of Asia, and drive the scooter all the way back. So most people wouldn't be doing that. So the other one is to drive it all the way back to Europe and then sell it. But then you have some issues with proper registration, everything else. But still, again, it's possible. If you do that, you can also just give the scooter away at the end of your trip. Scooters cost in South Africa, they're relatively cheap, like in China. They only cost about $1,000 to $1,500. So $1,500 or so dollars to get a scooter. So that's not too bad compared to the $15,000 a tour group wanted for half the trip and half the time. So looking into that, fortunately for me and Moran, I have relatives that live in South Africa. So the other option would be to find somebody that lives there, have the scooter, buy the scooter, put it in their name, that they register it in their home country, and then give you a special letter that tells you you have permission to ride the scooter and drive the scooter around the neighboring countries. This, of course, has to be registered with the police and all that stuff, but it's a small fee, still less than $15,000 each for a tour, where you can only go to where the tour group says. So we looked into all these things. So we did the first part. We made the route like this. That was stage one. So we made the general route to apply for the visa. Here we had to use another map program. We made the spots where we would be stopping along the way for the hotels. So that was in a different map program. So we did all that good stuff, got it all ready for those guys. Again, as you can see here with this one, you have all the map, all the little stops along the way were done up. So we did that. Then we had to start doing paperwork. So for the paperwork, the required papers, first we had to get this thing called the itinerary. This one, as you can see, it's got from the letterhead from the company. It says where we're gonna go, our passport numbers, the registration, all that good stuff, and basic part of the itinerary, which countries we wanted to go to, purpose. Then we had to show them on a map. As you see here, we had to pin the maps and the hotel stops along the way. And here's listing all the places we would go. Start with Cape Town, along Street Backpackers. We would go to the next city, which was 129 kilometers away, which was called Worcestershire. Taubau's Backpackers is where we were gonna stay. The next one was 170 miles, 79 kilometers from there. So for the South African visa, this was one of the requirements for Moran. Then he had to show proof of funds, how much money he had and all those good things, and of course his passport and everything else. Then we went to the next country, which would have been Botswana. We only had 4 stops there, but again, we had to say where the miles were, how far, how long it would take us to get, and everything else to apply for that visa. So that was just for the visa end. Then, of course, we have to have copies of our driver's licenses and international driver's licenses to show the government that everything is legal. We have to get permission slips, which were done by the local resident, which we have to have a picture of their ID, we have to have all their stuff. Then they have to take this and notarize this at the police station after everything is signed and done to give us permission to take the vehicle around the country. Then we have to get something that's called a carte de passage, which is an insurance policy that says if we sell the motorcycle or we give the motorcycle away, the government of the country we're in takes the insurance policy. So you have to have all the information of the motorcycle, which is the make, the this, which countries you're going to, and everything else. So in order to do that, you actually have to have a registered motorcycle. So this is the registration for the motorcycle in South Africa in my cousin's name that we bought. So we bought 2 motorcycles for my cousin. So in total, we spent about, I would say about $3,000 to get this, plus Moran's fee to go for apply for the visa. That's relatively cheap. That's only about Some were less than $60, so that part's the cheap part. The motorcycles wasn't bad. Because after 10 days is what they told us for Chinese, which e-visa you get within 10 days. After about almost 10 days, we wrote them a long letter explaining to them Moran was part of a tour, everything was going good, and they replied back to follow up in 10 working days. Well, the original 10 working days was well over by the time we wrote this letter. We were already at past 10 working days. Now we're at day 17 or 18, and we still haven't got anything, so we're going to wait a few more days, and then we again have to write this company and see if we get the visa. Unfortunately, for Chinese, here in Serbia, the only place to apply for a visa is online. The next choice is to go to Bulgaria, which is the next country over, but unfortunately for Chinese, it's a Schengen country, so without a Schengen visa, you can't go there. The other country to go on the other side where the visas have an embassy, again, you can't go because, again, it's back in a Schengen country, so it's not possible for that to do. The other third option is to go to Turkey, to fly all the way to Turkey, but as Chinese only get a 30-day visa in Turkey, and it takes 30 days for the embassy to do the visa, you would have to go to Turkey, hand in your passport, leave your passport for 30 days, which makes it difficult to travel around the country, then come back at the end of 30 days, hope to have your passport and your stuff done. If not, you have to request your passport back from the embassy to leave the country without paying penalties and fines. So that's not good. And the last option is go back to China. Well, unfortunately, we know there's a corona pandemic still going on, so that's not an option for Moran to go back to China and get the visa. So instead, we just have to wait this out. The scooters will be waiting for us whenever we get more visa stuff done and we can actually get proper visas and we can get Moran in there. For me, like I say, it's a matter of just spend some money, buy a plane ticket, and I'm in Africa tomorrow. But if I want to take my friend Moran with me, I have to wait a little longer, work the Chinese system, and get a fine visa for my brother Moran. Does that answer your questions, Moran?
Thank you very much for everything. Yeah, it's pretty hard for us.
Yes, for Chinese, it's not straightforward. Getting business visas, but then if you get a business visa, you're going there to work. Holiday visa, for most Chinese, the only way to get it is to book a tour. Book a tour is the easiest one, and then the company that does the tour arrangements arranges all the documentation and the visa for you. But then again, tours are very expensive, and it's usually not what a young traveler wants to see.
And also, I don't want to take tour.
No.
Yeah, especially for us.
Well, for us, what would we see? If we
Yeah.
take a tour, they take you to a game park. You see some animals, then they take you back to a hotel. You don't meet the people of a country, you don't see the people of a country, you don't get to feel the people of a country, because you're just put in a bus, brought to point A, to point B, taken, see what you see, bring back in the bus, take to the next point, see the next point. So you don't really get to experience the country.
Yeah.
Not the way we've been traveling, so that's not for us. For other people, maybe an
yes.
option.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Sounds good?
Good.
So now what do we got to do?
Yeah.
Wait
Wait.
and pray for the visa.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.